Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. Welcome to Championship Sunday at the World Championship 2022. Los Angeles Thieves, Atlanta FaZe, the two clear best teams in the game right now. Can Thieves get their first taste of World Championship glory, or will it be FaZe and Simp, aBeZy and Arcitys getting their third ring in just 4 seasons? Remarkable storyline, so much discussion and analysis to be done today. Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you are new as always, I would greatly appreciate it. Let's dive straight into things with the deciding series from yesterday. Who would be Los Angeles Thieves' opponent in the grand finals? FaZe, to me, seem to be the clear favourites here, but on Bakaj hardpoints, Surge actually won this pretty comfortably, 250 to 150, made the series actually rather interesting. Accuracy turned up, right? And when accuracy turns up, this team can hit new levels, but unfortunately as the series progressed, accuracy wasn't quite able to keep up that level. This was really the dagger, to be honest, just the way that, Seattle Surge had given OpTic the dagger when they played at this very map. Surge dropped 2-0 here in this game 3. FaZe win their defense. I mean, yeah, the snaking was coming into full effect in fairness. Like, honestly, morals and integrity have completely gone out the window this weekend. Suppose you can't really blame these players given the amount of money that's on the line. But, I mean, yeah, FaZe go down 2-0 here. They win their defense. They win the next offense. And then they go massive on the final offense as well to win it in, honestly, a crazy fashion. So, I mean, yeah, this was kind of the dagger. FaZe winning the control in the fashion they did. And honestly, I think Thieves watching this will think, okay, we have the V2 advantage for Sunday. Let's not give FaZe Tuscan control. That's my theory. We'll see what happens here in a second. And even as Octane says himself, double Tuscan offense, pretty impressive, right, to do that back-to-back. So Thieves will probably be looking at that thinking, okay, maybe let's not play them on Tuscan control tomorrow, and let's go down the other maps, which I think is probably what they will do, and where Thieves, I think, are significantly favoured in those other control maps, as we saw, of course, when they played them in yesterday's series. And FaZe go on to take the final map in the series as well. This time they don't choke a massive lead on Tuscan hardpoint going into the final map. Simp turns up as well towards the ends, and yeah, the run at 4 Seattle Surge is over. Honestly, great tournament from them. I did predict them to get top 3 in the bracket and FaZe to win this exact series in the losers final, so I guess that's pretty good for our breaking point bracket we did on the podcast before this tournament began. But I mean, yeah, tough scenes for Surge. They, at the end of the day, probably will look back on this season and think, look, we had a great season. We won Major 3, top 3 at champs. That's impressive. What is next for them? I think it's a big question, to be honest, because Pred and Sib have had like 2 incredible rookie seasons, there's no doubt. Mack has been pretty good at times, but somewhat inconsistent, and accuracy clearly has been a great piece to getting the best out of these guys, but is he required? My theory would be here, look, accuracy, it's been a great run, but maybe it's time to go into that head coaching role on the team, put accuracy into a coaching spot, and then bring in maybe a powerhouse mania who can do more slaying on a regular basis, and then maybe swap out Mack for someone like a big name free agent that might be on the market, and this team can seriously contend. But I just don't think they have quite enough when it matters against the top dogs to consistently take them down and be a powerhouse team. But they've got enough in terms of Pred and Sib. There's no doubt about that. Pred especially this season. Hopefully he can come back just as strong next year. And also we've got to talk about FaZe, right? Because, I mean, look, Cell has a 1.44. His KD, Cellium, going into the championship final is a 1.47 this tournament. Now, it's strange to think about, really, because he had a 1.6 in the series they lost to Thieves. And he was like, he had like a 1.5 KD, and they were getting 70-point clubs. So I'm sure if that was Dashy, everyone would be saying, wow, this Cell guy is just playing for kills. Which, honestly, I think just his playstyle is maybe not quite as impactful as other ARs, but he is still delivering, no doubt, an unbelievable performance this tournament. And, I guess will be the MVP if FaZe managed to win again for regular season and the World Championship itself. And right now his stats are actually slightly better, technically, than FormaL's Infinite Warfare performance, even though that was over way more series and way more maps than Cellium has had to play. But in fairness, Cellium hasn't got the opportunity to farm some of the pool play teams like FormaL and others were able to do back in the day. So of course it's a discussion that will be ongoing, but just the impressive thing for FaZe is that this team is in another grand finals. aBeZy and Simp are in their 4th straight grand finals at World Championships. Simp does not know what it's like to not be in a World Championship grand final, which is just so absurd to think about. They can get their 3rd ring today, those 3 guys. Cellium can get his 2nd ring today, obviously, of course, trying to go back-to-back from last season. Are Thieves able to stop them? I do think Thieves will be favoured here, but you really can't count FaZe out in a situation like this. It's incredible the consistency these guys are able to deliver year after year, and I'm sure there'll be questions about, okay, where exactly do they rank in the all-time list after this tournament, especially if they go on to win the entire thing and, well, get their 3rd ring to equal the best of all times. Yeah, Simp and aBeZy, 4th straight World Championship Grand Final. That breaks the record, actually. There's been a couple of players that have got close to this. JCap and aBeZy, I believe, held the joint records for players in World Championship Grand Finals. JCap did it every single year of the jetpacks, and then I think it was aBeZy who did it Black Ops 3, Infinite Warfare, and then World War 2 after that, where he won as well. So yes, it's been done 3 times in a row. This is the first time players have been in a Grand Finals 4 times in a row at the World Championship. Quick word on OpTic, of course. course, they finish out their season top 4. Not the result they wanted. Probably something we could have seen coming, to be honest, coming into this tournament. Do wonder what exactly happens to this team. I think it will stay the same unless Scump decides to retire. I guess they'll just run it back next year. Vanguard is Vanguard at the end of the day, but a very consistent story with OpTic, really. Yes, they had the Illy situation, but it just happens every year, really, where they start off so well and then fall off a little bit and then regain a little bit towards the end of the year, but just can't quite get back there, right? It's just such a consistent trend. We see it year after year. This year, the Illy having to step up situation definitely adds credence to the idea that they didn't really have what it takes to quite get back to that top form, but they'll still be frustrated with not being able to quite deliver their best for the World Championship. And even as FormaL says, can only imagine how the boys are feeling right now. Tough to go out that way. Definitely a heartbreaking loss. They had to deal with a lot of unfortunate circumstances this year. It is what it is. So I guess they run it back. We have talks about, okay, which players might be free agents, what options there could be, but I imagine they're going to go back to the drawing board and just start again for next season. They did win an event this year, and a lot of teams might just look at this season and say, look, it was Vanguard. It is what it is. But in fairness, this tournament has probably been the most predictable of the lot. If you drop a bracket before the tournament, like every single series, the favourite has pretty much won. Yes, some of them have been Game 5 gruelers, but pretty much the favourites are in the grand finals, right? FaZe and Thieves, that was, to me, relatively clear-cut grand finals matchup we were going to get. That's exactly what we have, right? So for all the inconsistencies of Vanguard at times, when push comes to shove at the biggest tournaments, the best teams are coming out on top. Now, one thing that might be a factor here for the grand finals is the possibility of the main stage being rather too warm. Crimsix did that interview right after day one, where he said, okay, for some reason it's just super hot behind the scenes. He's going to wear shorts tomorrow because it's so hot on stage. And then apparently they put the AC on full blast as a result. Nabler says he was shivering on the desk because it was so cold in there. But Simp reckons that he somewhat disagrees. He says the stage is still incredibly hot, as people were saying Simp was just dripping in sweat on the main stage. And Simp's like, please put the AC on. The stage is like 100 plus degrees Fahrenheit. And as Octane says, almost yacked after our series earlier, it was so hot. So maybe that's a factor, not just dealing with the pressure of the game, but also dealing with the external environment. Like, got to adapt the best to the heat if you actually want to win this one. So it could be an interesting one, which players are best adaptable to that type of setting. Even Courage actually said right here, like, please let me do the LA Thieves intro tomorrow on stage. That'd be cool if they do let him come out there and do it. Like, I imagine, well, they could potentially figure this one out as well. So it would be cool to see Courage back on stage, because did this a couple of times for previous World Championships, and it's always received well by the crowd, especially home event, of course, in LA. This then, the Championship Grand Final. Los Angeles Thieves, Atlanta FaZe. Going in, this is the one that I think a lot of people predicted we would get. Just this one series being played today, a straight-up best-of-9 grueler. There's no 1-0 advantage, I understand, for any team. That was what it was last year. Back in Modern Warfare, they did give a 1-0 advantage to the team from winners. Nowadays, they don't do that anymore. But I do think the veto edge that Thieves have is relatively significant in terms of swinging the balance of this series in their favour. This I also found up, as Octane mentioned. I think a couple of guys pointed this out to me, and I think also Octane tweeted about this and then deleted it because I guess he didn't want to kind of give the bad GG man anything to come for him for. But as Octane says, I got told by nature if we win champs, they'll rebrand the Cash App compounds with my face on the outside. See you all at the grand finals, right? That is exactly where they are. Tweeted this out back in December. And even this from Kenny, tweeting out this kind of bandana gift. So you guys well know that, well, bandana Kenny back in the World War II days was absolutely unstoppable, and Black Ops 4 as well. Apparently the bandana might be coming out for the Championship Sunday, so it might just be time to chalk up the series and call it a day, because yeah, bandana Kenny, that guy is different. This is what it would mean, right? A second ring for Cellium, third rings for Simp, aBeZy and Arcitys if they win this one, but first rings for all of Envoy, Octane, Drazah and Kenny. If Kenny was to lose this Championship Grand Finals, he would have had 3 runners-up placings at World Championships, back in Black Ops 4, back in World War II, and now of course this year, right? So Kenny finally wants to get over the hump. Probably Octane and Kenny, 2 of the greatest players ever, if not the greatest, to have never won a World Championship up to this point in their careers. This is the time to finally cement it, and it would be quite the storyline for Envoy, right? After all the talking points about, well, whoever OpTic drop goes on to win champs, Envoy has a great chance to solidify a further element of that legacy today. Just wanted to mention this from Round 11 Stats, a couple of statistical ideas as to how this series might play out. Their Search and Destroy has come on leaps and bounds. Every single stage they've got better and better in Search. I still think they haven't lost one, right? Because they won that one yesterday up against FaZe. So they're 4-0 so far, Thieves, in this tournament in their Search and Destroys, and they needed to be in that very first round up against Boston, where they almost lost, of course. But in that series, in fairness, there was the massive delay, and I'm pretty sure that just chalked everyone's mental going into the series. This another bit of bad news from FaZe. If we look at the entire list here of teams that clutch up or fall short in situations where both teams have 230 points in hard points, Thieves are the best team at doing that, and FaZe are the worst team, right? So when both teams get to 230 in a tight back and forth hard point, FaZe are the most likely team to lose that setting. Thieves are the most likely team to win. So that's a pretty big deal as well going into this grand finals, and this is how it works. So it's going to be a straight up best of 9 to my understanding. This is the way the veto advantage works works though for the team from the winners bracket. So last time out, New York subliners, of course, at Major 4, they came for winners. They decided to ban Gavutu Hardpoint and Tuscan Control. Thieves will have the same luxury today up against FaZe. They will 100%, I believe, ban Bakaj Hardpoint. That's the map that they don't like to play. We saw what happened here in this series against New York, right? They lost the first 2 maps here, Bakaj and Desert Siege Surge, and then went on a 5-in-1 run after this, winning 5 of the next 6 maps on maps that they started to get more comfortable on. So they can get rid of Bakaj Hardpoint. They don't like to play that one at all. They can play all the other hardpoints where they are very comfortable and pretty good on. All the search and destroys will be played in some order or another, but to me, it's the controls that will decide this series, right? Berlin Control, Gavutu Control. Those are the 2 that I expect to see. Thieves can decide what they want to play, and honestly, FaZe will be pretty nervous going into that, right? Knowing how they've been destroyed lately by Thieves, they've lost the last 3 series in a row to Los Angeles Thieves, and especially the controls have not been particularly close. Even yesterday was another example of Berlin Control, absolute dominance from Thieves. They'll come in here being incredibly confident they can win that one. They're going to leave that in the map set for sure, and then I think based on what we saw FaZe do to Seattle yesterday on Tuscan, they'll probably get rid of that one and go for a Gavutu Control as well. This is a map where Thieves have very much impressed me. Up against OpTic, they almost won all 5 rounds of that game actually, and just shut out OpTic on their defenses. So yeah, to me, Berlin Control, Gavutu Control, that's where this series might well be won and lost for Thieves. If they win both controls, they're winning this series almost guaranteed. If they go 1-in-1 within the controls, I still think they can do it, just because their other game modes are so good as well, right? They're Search and Destroy, they're undefeated coming into this stage of the tournament. Yes, FaZe are great at Search, and I think honestly it's kind of 50-50 between them, but I might slightly favour Thieves as to be the better Search and Destroy team right now. Hardpoint, right? Like, yeah, don't get me wrong, FaZe are a good hardpoint team, but when it comes, you know, push comes to shove at 230, generally Thieves will be the more likely team to win in that setting. And also, Thieves have this like thing in their locker that they can just pull out a 100-point club every now and again to just completely demoralize the other team. That's what they did yesterday. So to me, Thieves are playing on a new level. They're currently better in every single mode, but it's a World Championship Grand Final. The numbers, the statistics don't necessarily play out how things are going to go. Simp and aBeZy have been in the Champs Grand Final the last 4 years in a row. They know what it takes. They know how it's done. They won it last year. They want to defend their title. Of course, as a home thing for Thieves, you know, will nerves start to creep in? They go down 2-0 in this series. They lose a big map on their control. Will they start to get nervous, right? It's a big stage for them, given the pressure that's on them here to deliver, and nade shots there as well, and all this type of stuff. Like, it, you know, it's obviously set up perfectly for the Thieves victory, but you know, it's never so easy, especially against FaZe. FaZe are never a team that's going to go down easily. Every single grand finals they play is always pretty close at the very least. I think 5-2, they did lose one earlier on this season, but they always keep it competitive. It's never over until it's absolutely over. But I would say that Thieves today are probably the, you know, maybe 65-70% favourites in that, and therefore I'm going to take Thieves 5-3 in this one. Just wanted to look at this day 3 overall KD. Sell yesterday at a 1.52. We'll see what he can do in the grand finals here, right? Surely he can't manage to drop another 1.6 here in the World Championship Grand Final, but I guess anything is possible for this guy. But this is the bracket. Honestly, this tournament, how many upsets has there really been? Apart from Surge making this run, which I think a lot of people predicted was actually possible from Seattle Surge, there really hasn't been too many upsets this tournament, right? So pretty cool to see how the best teams have actually come out on top, and Vanguard decided for one tourney to crown off the year, right? And I also do wonder what this means for FaZe if they were to lose this today. Another Championship Sunday usually means they'll fall short and come something like seconds, as they have done many times this year. If that does happen, what does it mean for their legacy? Like, what does it mean for the whole dynasty discussion? Because they never kind of cemented that in Vanguard without a victory, if that, of course, wasn't the case if they were to lose today. These guys are going to run it back next year regardless, but just so many storylines developing. And this is the final thing to mention, right? Have any teams prepared anything special for the World Championship Grand Final? We've seen a few things coming out so far this season, but especially so far this World Championship. But last year, well, back in Modern Warfare, we saw a few special things start to come out for Jamps. We might see some interesting things coming out here in the Grand Finals, and again, it's probably going to be Cellium and FaZe that might be pulling some of this stuff out. But very much intrigued to your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new as always, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you next time.